Hey guys, Stealth here. Today, of course, being a Tactical Tuesday, we're going to look into one of the tactical games using a T90S. Now, I don't think I've ever covered this. The T90S being the North Korean, let's say basically a T72BU clone. But normally you don't really see them around, or at least I haven't really seen them around that much on Tacticals. And today, Wally Wuko is going to be starting with the T90S. He has already asked for tank support, and this is of course, for recon support, and definitely AA, since those are the two major weaknesses if you're starting with a unit this expensive. Now, T90S, as mentioned, basically a clone of the T72BU. Let's just get this gameplay rolling and I can pull up the chart. I believe it is slightly cheaper, slightly slower off-road, and it lacks the ATGM. Other than that, we're talking about pretty much the same tank, although the frontal armor might be 23 on the T72BU, where it's only 22 on the T90S. He is also using a ZTQ-62 over here. This is the Chinese recon tank. 20 points, it has a decent gun for 20 points, 35% accuracy, no stabilizer, a little bit of armor penetration damage. Rate of fire is not that good, but it has good optics. It's pretty fast off-road at 60, nice autonomy, and unfortunately the armor is really quite lacking at only 3 points. Some IFVs or infantry fighting vehicles have better armor than that. Now it looks like the recon is pulling up, BRM-1K, exceptional optics, and I gotta say that this is quite the good play by Mark Ultra over here. Not so much in using a BRM-1K in this tree line, but having a BRM-1K in the first place, because it really helps your team out if you want to be using one of these, but you're not that likely to get a lot of points for it, because this thing is a spotter vehicle, it's not a combat vehicle. Looks like we have the first contender coming up. An M1A1, and was the T90S spotted or not? I think he stopped blinking for a moment there. Move up for the snipe. A couple of supports there. Leopard 1A5 at fully elite. This guy is also elite, of course. But against this much firepower, the T90 could be struggling a little bit, although the Sturms might be able to pick off one of these Leopards. Sturm is firing, 81% accuracy, and unfortunately the Leopards got too close. And that means that the T90S should be able to really hurt these things. There's a side shot, insta-kill on the 1A5. Can he do that again? Yes, he can. 65 points down. 2 Leopard 1A5s down. The M1A1 will know that he's there, but he might not have been completely identified yet. So let's hope that he can use that to his advantage. Aside from that, we still have recon on the left, we still have a little bit of recon down the middle, but the right flank... Oh, there we go, it's covered by another BRM-3. So the recon over on this flank is good. Let's see how they're doing down the middle. Looks like they do have some recon here, some LSTRs, a couple of transports. And of course the real infantry warfare is going on in this tree line, which for now seems to be going pretty well for red. They've scored more points than blue. And blue is only, if they have infantry, has managed to capture this line, whereas red can fall back farther should they need to. For now though, the M1A1 is pulling back. I think the BRM-1K has been able to spot him. Now, there's not really a good way to do this, but make sure you don't have your vehicles too close, because if the T90S gets sniped by, let's say, an Atacams, then the BRM-1K might be an accidental casualty there. So you want to make sure that these things are not too close, or they're both going to go down. New recon vehicle coming up. He's coordinating as best as possible. He says there's radar AA, we need smoke to move up, and let's move. Movement indeed, as we have an Mi-24P from the 105th Air Division, combined with a K-52 for spotting, and of course, let's say medium seed opportunities. First missile coming in from the TTS, although it's not really that accurate. And he notices that immediately. Now the M1A1 has a gun that only has 19 armor penetration, so at the max range of the M1 it will not be able to penetrate the T90, whereas the T90 will have no problem penetrating the M1A1. It's just that he's going to need a bit better recon, or a bit better, recon to actually find that thing. I'm going to Gepard activating, trying to get a couple of shots in on my 24p. Looks like it's not quite in range yet, and there goes the T90. It's pushing up. We have the M1 and a couple of unidentifieds. Whoa! That was probably a Nighthawk, judging by the amount of damage that did. So, no more T90. And Wally does not really know what's going on. Yep, F-117. Nighthawk. That thing will pretty much snipe any kind of tank, any super heavy. I don't believe I've ever seen any tank actually stand up to that thing and survive. So he's down to his ZTQ-62, and he is going to be doing quite well with his vehicle, which, as I mentioned, is only a 20-point vehicle, so you don't really need to kill too much with it in order to get your own value back. And aside from that, he might have some points in reserve, or actually he spent those on a T-55 recon. But other than that, he's not likely to get a T-90S again unless this game really drags on and he happens to have another one in his arsenal. Bit unusual to see an active anti-radar operator there, or anti-air operator. The Seed came in, had a perfect shot, missed it, and got hit by the Cortal and the Roland, which is now being pulled back as fast as possible to hide its last known location. So, the right flank currently is in a bit of trouble. They only have a couple of light to medium tanks, and that's about it. Whereas the enemy might still have the M1A1. So the M1A1 will be able to kill the T-55 really without getting into too much trouble. I don't think the T-55 can even penetrate him at that range. No, he's going to get real close to the M1A1 before he can actually do some damage. Concours M might be able to do something, but they seem quite happy to be wasting their missiles on transports for the moment. Yeah, that's only a 5-point, maybe 10-point kill. And you're giving your position away. You're now showing that there's Concours here, which is quite the interesting target, especially for artillery. 25 points, but they can do remarkable amounts of damage for only 25 points. 1 or 2 missiles can really, really hurt your tanks, especially if you get a side shot, and sometimes that does happen. You get exceptionally lucky, you get a side shot, and you can just one-shot a super heavy with this thing, which is about 7 to 8 times markup. See what they're doing over on the left? This is quite the unusual sight to have a Challenger 2 in the town. I'm not really sure why they're not using it out in the open, because most of the infantry is going to be deeper inside the tree line, where the Challenger 2 will not really be able to reach it. That's why I usually use my tanks over here, where if I'm going to push forward, I know that I can actually get a kill. Whereas over here, you're more likely to get hit and take damage than actually deliver or reliably do damage. We're in Milan returning fire on the T-55. He just managed to get inside the tree line and block line of sight. BMPT punishing a couple of Delta Force operators trying to hurry back inside the building. And in the meantime, we have quite a bit of activity over on the right. Oh, there goes the T-55. Milan F3 team came in and killed him. How many points has he scored? 250 so far. We got Navy SEALs engaging Grenzers, although at this range they're not using their grenade launcher yet. He's pushing smoke in. That is Gumby with a 1 Tunsha. He's now moving in with LSTRs. A couple of special Aufklärer and an SPW 80 and a 70 for fire support. Need infantry support. Anti-infantry support, yep. The right flank seems to have crumbled a little bit. There's not too much left. Hopefully they can reliably take this tree line with the LSTRs. Their Vampers will make short work of any kind of vehicle that might be nearby. Unfortunately, they don't really do that much against laser-guided munitions, which again was the Nighthawk. So the Nighthawk is going to be out of play for a couple more minutes while it reloads. I don't think it even got hit. I certainly didn't see it get hit. So he only really has his recon infantry, and while they are elite, they are not as good as the LSTRs. Or at least they don't have the same anti-tank and anti-air capabilities the LCRs do. Marder VTS-1s coming in with the L783. Not really sure what they're trying to pull, because they're about to rush headfirst into a bunch of infantry. And the SPW-70 at this range might have enough armor penetration to go through the Marder VTS-1s. They have 4 frontal armor. Yep, there goes the transport. Even got a Brennus up there. You're gonna have to punish these guys right now, but the RPG-7 is not particularly accurate, or the 7V that these guys carry. 40% accuracy, which will get boosted by the level of elitism that these guys have. The thing is that they are shaken, so that again takes away from the accuracy. There's the SEALs. Would not want to pick a fight with those guys, especially with all the fire support that they have. I'm not sure why he hasn't... Oh, actually, yeah. The VTS-1s are threatening the ZTQ. If he would push forward with the ZTQ and try to engage the Navy SEALs over here, the Martyrs would return fire and instantly kill off the ZTQ, even before it could get a shot off, probably. So the range on these is only 1750. He's also bringing in another one. And this, in fact, is quite the superior version to the base ZTQ-62. Again, a Chinese unit has a lot more frontal armor, 8 versus 3. Way better range, way better accuracy, way better stabilizer, which the other one didn't have altogether. And rate of fire is also improved. And now he can quite reliably take on the Martyrs. Especially the Navy SEALs have to go. HE damage seems a bit low, only 3. Come on, hit him again. There, 35 points. Which is well over half of the ZTQ's own price tag. Now let's see, the Martyrs have a range of 1925, so he outranges them. This is basically a tank that happens to have recon, or at least that's the way that I usually look at it. The recon is very good, so it has quite the good potential for spotting targets. T-Man surrenders. Also saw someone else just pull out. I think that was Sergeant Mario. Now everyone's opening up. The ZTQ takes fire. Looks like they don't really have optics that's sufficient to spot the targets that are over here. They only got one shot off against the ZTQ. There's another shot, and there's the kill. Time to bring in a cargo to get these units fixed up and resupplied. Especially this one needs a bit of fixing, because you don't want to lose a unit like that. Especially in a tactical, if you lose it, you're going to be sitting back and waiting for, well, basically the next couple of minutes. Left flank is completely controlled by red. They are trying to make progress towards the edge of the cap zone in Boris, but it's going to take a while. Usually pushing through Anna is quite fast, and then everything grinds to a halt as you're trying to get more terrain over on the right. Looks like, as I wasn't paying attention here, the ZTQG got killed off by the Brennus, or at least something along the likes of it. He has activated ZTQ-62. Brennus punishes the transport and it gets killed off. He's gonna have to hold fire and not get detected, or he can kiss this thing goodbye. Now, the cargo unfortunately came too late for the resupply and especially the repair. Plane, something to kill Brennus with 11 armor. This is a really good communication marker, I gotta say that. He gives very, very clear intention of what he needs to kill this tank. It needs to be something that has more than 11 armor penetration. Now, most, if not all, aircraft have the capability to kill a Brennus. But this specific is, while it's very good, I'd say it's overkill. You could even go with Brennus. Something like that is what's going to give most people enough information to actually engage the target that's over there. Right flank is moving up. Ah, there's the Brennus. Right flank's moving up. Resvetkas are coming in. And looky here. A couple of very, very sneaky snipers trying to spot whatever's out there. And considering that they're not actually firing at the Resvetkas, means that they have their weapons turned off. Resvetkas, no such thing. They're returning fire. Missile comes in from the Milan F3. That's the guys that killed one of the other vehicles. And unfortunately the Resvetkas died slightly prematurely. He again puts up a marker 1 here, which is the Brennes. I'm not sure if there is just one. He says there's 2 Brennes we need to kill. 1 here and 1 here. Let's see if that's true. Yeah, that's exactly what I thought. It's just the 1 Brennes. Unless they already killed the other one. But I don't believe that that's the case. He mistook the Brennes that's over on the right for the Brennes that was here. So there is really only 1 tank that they need to worry about. And that's the one that's back there. This tree line is virtually empty. And it makes sense because a Brennes is, well, it's not particularly expensive. It's not something that you want to lose. So he's really micromanaging it. And micromanaging 2 would signify a more significant investment, as well as being more clear. You would take more fire from multiple different targets. There's one there. That's the Brennes. And the other one is basically a ghost. It's not actually there. Cortal coming in. He's marking everything. Half health. That's additional info. Very useful. This, by the way, if you can capture it, by all means go for it. But at this range, if it's resupplying the HGM team, I would kill it right away. 30 points. So a bit of a waste of those 1750 supply points, but you just cannot have these guys continue to operate. They are too dangerous for that. There's the Brennes again. I really hope that they don't have too much recon left, otherwise these Grenzers are going to go down again. I'm not sure what the Arty is firing at. So much for the transport, by the looks of it. How's the left doing? Yep, they're still trying to score it out with Delta Force. Up those Scorpion Lights. This is a bit unusual. These things are really not that good. Range is bad, accuracy is bad, arm penetration is not that good. That is, the accuracy will really mess up the arm penetration. Because while the arm penetration of 10 points for a 20-point vehicle is pretty good, you're not actually going to really have any use for it, because this thing never hits. And the VDV are just moving in, getting a kill in, and pulling back. So that's 1 Scorpion down. You can see that even the artillery is doing heavy damage to this tank. They're also trying to push through the British infantry that's holding up here. There's quite a lot of them, but they seem to be doing quite okay, actually. The Warrior Milan is trying to get a shot in, but it seems that the driver is a bit distracted and doesn't really know where to go. Just keeps zigzagging between the buildings, keeps turning on the spot. And that's really the best that Red could hope for. Because the Warrior Milan, with its autocannon, can really be quite the pain for your infantry. Especially if it gets the chance to fire at you in the open. But so far, no such thing. So far, they're doing quite alright. A couple of Fusiliers squaring it out against more Strelki and some Sappery. Although I wouldn't be surprised if these guys are not going to live. MTLBV providing additional support with a machine gun. But let's face it, this thing... it's not just for show, but it doesn't really do that much. Right flank, again, requesting smoke for the push. Again an LSTR push. Let's hope that the Nighthawk leaves them alone this time around. Something got killed off. I'm not too sure what, but apparently it was nice. There's another ZTQG coming in, as well as a bit of ZSD with infantry. Some sort of AT infantry, I just don't know what type yet. Now, Commando Marines against LSTRs. This is going to be a tough fight for both parties. But I think that the LSTRs are not going to win this one. Simply because the Commando Marines can put up more firepower with both their assault rifle and their machine gun. This is really when Wally should be rushing in with the ZTQ, trying to help out these guys. Because the LSTRs, I believe, are 35-point infantry. They are really quite the investment. And if you can keep them alive, if just one guy survives, you can bring them back to full health with just one of those resupplies, and they still have one standing by. But unfortunately, no such thing. So it's up to the 105p to actually get the kill in. And the 105p has taken quite a bit of damage. Wow, that was exceptionally lucky. The Commander Marines, with just the two of them, managed to kill off an Mi-24P. I think they managed to get a bit of fire into the back of the vehicle, where they did a lot more damage than 105th Air Division had probably expected. You can see that the front and the sides are pretty well armored, but if that thing starts spinning, it opens up the rear of the helo, the backside, and that's really not that well armored. It has no armor, and that's pretty much the only way that I could reliably explain why the helicopter went down. This is a pretty unusual last-ditch effort. I hadn't really expected to see a longbow. Wally has seen it though, and he's warning the rest of the team, guys, there is a longbow here. MiG-29 comes in, tries to drop cluster bombs on top of the helo, but unfortunately the helo is of course not a stationary target. Cluster bombs end up hitting nothing at all. I think that this is the M1A1 that we saw at the start of the match. I'm not sure if it actually has done any damage so far, but I'm not sure why he pulled it back this far. If that M1A1 had pushed up along with the Brennus, they would have done a lot of damage, especially together. Mi-24P putting missile fire in on the M1A1, unfortunately not actually getting a hit. Even if it would have gotten a hit, the Kokon missile, the base Kokon, isn't really not that good. The guys are making very, very good progress over here on the right. They are pushing through. They have managed to make the hop from this tree line to the next, and they are pretty much already halfway through the sector, with even putting a command infantry unit from Jared over there into the zone to neutralize Blue's income. And while this isn't a terribly important zone strategically, it does give you income, and the income is terribly important in a match like this. Now Wally is resupplying his vehicles. He's ready to push out. A couple of Fagot M HGM infantry units. Not fantastic, but if they do need to kill something that might be beyond the capacities of the ZTQ-62 or the 62G, then this could be an interesting unit to do it. And of course at this stage it really becomes a question of how far and how fast can you push. So far he scored 380 points, and you can see that most of the points are pretty nicely divided over the team. Everyone really pulled their weight. For Blue, that unfortunately isn't really the case. It seems that Tom 2000 has gotten quite a lot of points, but he seems to be pretty much the only one who has a decent amount of points. The other guys, not so much. Now, I know that there are some people watching this channel who say that Blue always wins in tacticals, but let this be an example that that is absolutely not the case. Red can definitely win this, and moreover, Red will win this. There's just no way that Blue's going to pull back from this. But considering that the replay is going to last another 15 minutes, it looks like they are going to be putting up a hell of a fight before they surrender or get all of their infantry, or their command units killed. Holy hell. What is all this? Looks like 113s. Is that an Ontos? That's a Ranzu. Chugata cargo. Wally's requesting artillery fire and marking that there's targets here. And especially that the targets are transports is the important bit of information here. So again, excellent communication. And so far, I haven't always been watching the left, but so far Wally seems to be one of the few guys putting up markers. And the more you communicate with your team, especially in tactical, the better your entire team will do. M42 AAG trying to provide a bit of damage onto the LSTRs. Not really that effective. And this thing gets stunned very, very quickly. LSTRs are gearing up for a shot, but with only 55%, they're not very close. That was a nice kill. That was probably the ZTQ-62, managed to get a kill with the transport and the command infantry inside. And basically we're just looking at the end game rush now. This is just going to be pushing through and through and through. There's not really that much that Blue has left to do. There's another CV. That's the last CV, or at least in the zone. But then again, it can still take you quite a while before you actually get control, or you actually find all of the CVs. Let's see where Blue's hiding them. Yeah, see? One over there, and one all the way in the mountains. And they're all controlled by the same guy. Now, that doesn't make sense unless he brought in multiple CVs. Which means that this guy is probably trolling the entire team by both not providing forces to support his own team and by giving Red a hell of a search, trying to come through the entire map in order to get these last CVs. Players like these, they ruin tacticals. They just ruin the spot where you just have to keep looking all over the map. As you can see by the large number of helos and blips moving all over the map, it's just a massive search party being sent out, and that can take up to 10 minutes in order to finally get all of the zones under control. There's a kill. I think a bit of friendly fire killed the MI2 recon helo as well. Last CV's about to be found. Jared pushing in. Oh, he completely missed it. He didn't see it. 105th Air Division decided not to wait anymore and he left the game. And that was while he was definitely on the winning team and scored the most points. So maybe he got disconnected, but seriously, Yusuf, don't be a dick. Don't just spam CVs in a tactical and then hide them at the edge of the map. That's a really, really bad play. There, finally. So let's see how he did. 518 points, 255 points lost, most of which, of course, was the T-90S. There's not really that much that he could have done in order to prevent the Nighthawk from killing the T-90S. That thing is just very, very, very destructive. And I don't really see what he could have done different in order to try and keep it alive. The other guys, 105th Air Division with his helos, did really, really well. And Wally asked me to give a shout out to this guy for providing excellent support, not just in helicopters, but also in recon capability with the Ka-52. So he did a really, really good job there. The other guys, looks like most of them actually made positive, which is a bit unusual. Yeah, there's one guy on the team that has not made positive, but everyone else did. So this was quite the good Red 4 team. Blue 4, I unfortunately cannot say the same thing for. Negative, 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 negative. Look at that. He got all of the forces from the other guys, but that does not really explain, or actually does it? I'm thinking that it might explain why he has all the CVs, but I believe that they would still be under the control of this player, or at least by name, and that Yusuf would be controlling his guys. Because sometimes you see people who are no longer in the match who still have units that are still being moved around. So I'm not actually sure if this guy is to blame, but I'll let you guys be the judge of that in the comments. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Did this guy intentionally troll? Or did he just inherit the other units from the other commanders? I'm not sure. Let me know what your thoughts are on that. Anyway, that concludes this Tactical Tuesday gameplay. If you have any good tactical gameplay, be sure to send it in. A link in the description down below. Beware though, I only cover these things once a week, so there's no guarantee that your replay is going to get featured on the channel anytime soon. With that, thank you for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you soon for the next video.